Fins up, everybody. It's the Margaritaville podcast, your source for escapism digitally. And we're talking a little working and playing with a very good friend of mine and fellow yooper. And now, current NFL network analyst, Steve Mariucci. Everyone calls him Mooch. I still call him Coach. Coach, welcome to Margaritaville.
Heikki, do we have to explain what a yooper is?
I think we better.
Have you done that before on your show?
I have not.
You should. I think you should.
Okay, so, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
You can't be wrong.
There
on
are
this.
degrees of definitions. We'll say
Really?
this. A yooper
It's
is...
now in the dictionary, in Webster's dictionary, yooper.
Is it?
Yeah, they just added it a couple years ago.
We're moving up, buddy.
So look it up. But explain.
A yooper is someone who is from and grown up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, known as the UP. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, eh? And it's controversial too with the definition in Webster's dictionary because I can't remember exactly what it says. It says someone who, I don't remember if it says someone born in the UP, in the Upper Peninsula, or someone that lives in the Upper Peninsula. Because what if I move there when I'm 25 years old? Do I become a yooper? And is there a number of years that you have to declare residency?
You know what? That's a very good point.
Yeah. Is my wife a yooper? She married a yooper? I don't know. She's not really. Maybe honorary.
Well, here's my instance, right? So I was born in Petoskey, Michigan. So below the bridge. My mother is a native yooper.
Okay.
My dad is not a yooper, but
Hey,
I moved
so
there in
you're-
the 6th grade.
You're a borderline yooper then.
Borderline, but my grandfather was from Lake Linden.
Okay.
Okay. And my grandmother was from Nagani. So,
So you got some blood
I've
from
got
the
some
UP.
royal blood, yooper royal blood there, right? I moved to Crystal Falls in the 6th grade and grew up, through high school. So I consider myself, my dad's got a deer camp now on the Kelso Trail.
Well, that helps. That's
right.
That goes on the resume. If you have a deer camp in the UP,
Family's got a deer camp, 40 acres of beaver dams
then you're
all over the
probably
place.
a yooper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you were born in Iron Mountain.
I was born, but my dad was born in Italy. It's a little ways away from the UP, but he moved there with his family through Ellis Island. I'll tell you, when he was 6 years old. So then he became a young yooper, but he was.
That had to be culture shock though for him. You come from whereabouts in Italy was he from?
Umbria. He didn't even speak English.
And he went right to Iron Mountain.
Yeah, and he ended up teaching English for a career. Anyway, that's the yooper story.
Well, and let's talk about what you're doing here now.
Okay.
You work for the NFL Network.
I just did my 12th Super Bowl with the NFL Network. And what does that mean? It means we're getting old. It means I coached for 29 years.
Yep.
And then now 12 years in television as an analyst. It's I love it. Heikki, I love it because it's football. I mean, come on. Many of us grew up playing football in the backyard or on the street or whatever, watching it. And now I get paid to talk about it. I mean, come on, give me a break. So I love it. I love the guys I work with. I work with some crazy guys. I know you've seen the show, but Michael Irvin's nuts. Marshall Faulk's nuts. Kurt Warner's nuts. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Rich Eisen's nuts. And it's just Deion Sanders nuts. And we get along like we're a good team. We're a good team. It's like Modern Family. I mean, it's like a bunch of guys from all over the place. And we've become quite a team. And we always look forward to work. I don't call it work, really. We're talking about football. Come on.
Well, you're one of the lucky ones, right? When
Yeah,
when you can find work that you love, it's not work.
Exactly.
And then you still get your football fix.
I do, and we get in the stadiums on Thursday Night Football, so it's kind of fun to be in the arena again with the crowd and the intensity that brings. But the other part of it is, the reason I got out of coaching, I moved my wife 18 times.
Oh, wow.
That's right. And it's harder on the wife than it is on the coach. The coach, if you're in that office or if you're in that building, if you're in but that team, a lot of it's the same. It's the same grind, it's the same routine.
Kids change schools.
But for the family, for the wife, it's got to be it's a new home, it's a new babysitters, pediatricians, doctors, teachers, schools, everything changes. I decided I just didn't want to put them through it again. So we decided to stay put in Northern California, where we really enjoy living. It's not the UP, but it's Northern California, and that's our home base. And so when you do television, you can live any darn place you want, right?
Right.
I mean, we all fly into our work. We fly into L.A. when we're in the studio. And so just, call time is here, be there for the meeting, and everybody flies in. So that's why it's very convenient to do television. You can live where you want to live and talk about what you love.
You've always been a very personable person, and just seem to be a player's coach and just a fun guy to be around. To make the transition from coaching, because there's a serious side to coaching. Obviously, there's scheduling, and there's just game planning and just the grind of the season, dealing with owners, dealing with other coaches,
dealing
and just
with the
media. Yeah, right. And I'm fake media. This is a hobby, right? This we get to talk about fun stuff here.
I'm fake media too, because I people still call me coach, and I take that as a compliment.
It's high praise, right? It's got to be.
Well, it's like. We all, or some of us, have titles, right? Is it? Are you a dad? Are you a mom? Those are great things to be called. Okay, coach is something great to be called. Some people are your honor, you're this, you're that, and coach is what I did for a profession. That's what I wanted to do. My dad was a coach, and so I grew up wanting to be a teacher and a coach. So nobody calls me Steve. Nobody calls me Steve. I mean, I'll hear that once a month. It's either Mooch or Coach, or Coach Mooch, or a few of things I can't say right now.
Yeah, what does your wife call you when you got to move again, right?
Oh, God. Yeah, a lot of things. So I said, all right, we're not going to move anymore.
Well, I always call you Coach because I consider it a form of professorship, right? You went to the school of coaching, the school of hard knocks. But it started sports for you in Iron Mountain, Michigan, as an Iron Mountain Mountaineer. Mm-hmm. That's where you became very close friends with, of course, Coach Izzo of Michigan State. And then you went on to Northern Michigan University. And you went to the championship, Division II, right, as quarterback.
Not only did we go to the championship, we won the championship. You won it. That was pretty cool. In fact, they're doing a feature right now on that 1975 national championship team. So get this. So we learned that had never. Well, what happened the year before? We didn't win a game. 0-10. The next year we won the national championship. Okay, kind of crazy. You'd think, oh my God, you're going to get investigated, but so we
powered by pasties, right?
Exactly. That was pregame meal, and they found out it's never been done in football before. So I asked the research guys at the NFL Network, hey, find out if it's ever been done before in any sport. So we got some good people, and I found out that to go from winless to national champion, or even champion, because they also studied the pros. They studied the four major professional leagues: the NBA, the NFL, baseball, hockey. Never been done. Never been done. Never been done in the NCAA, men's or women's, anything. Lacrosse, basketball, tiddlywinks, bowling, never done. NAIA, never done. So
wow.
So it's pretty cool, because we knew it was kind of special and kind of neat to go from Ophir to win the whole thing, but we had no idea that it's never been done. Now, we did not study Pop Warner. We did not study Little League or even high schools too much.
Right.
But chances are it's never been done.
What do you attribute to the flip in the next season?
Well, a lot of factors. We lost some close games the year before, but when they hired Buck Nystrom too. Remember Buck? I just saw Buck not too long ago. They hired him. He's maybe the greatest coach I've ever been around. Brought in some new kids, some new players, some JC transfers. Had some guys transfer from Michigan State and Central Michigan that were eligible right away because it's a Division II school at Northern. You have eligibility immediate, and then we won a lot of close games. Even the championship game was 16-14 against Western Kentucky. So it was just kind of one of those Cinderella seasons. I guess I shouldn't say one of those because it's never happened before to anybody else. So that's what makes it so cool.
What kind of a quarterback were you? How do you describe your play?
I was like a poor man's Doug Flutie. So you remember how he's not very big. He's my size, right?
He scrambled and he just found a way to get
and he put Boston College on the map. You probably remember his big throw against Miami.
That's right.
You know, and they have a statue of Doug. My daughter goes to Boston College, but anyway, they have a statue of Doug Flutie outside their football stadium because he made them relevant. And so I was a little bit like that, similar size, could throw, could run, you know, all that. Just played at a different level, I guess. But I tried it in the NFL. Well, I didn't get drafted. Okay.
Me either.
You and I have something in common. We didn't get drafted in the NFL, and so I went to Canada. And didn't make it up there. So it's like, okay, I see the writing on the wall here. Let's do something else. So I became a coach.
It's a huge jump, you know, to play at a pro league, let alone coach. But you were able to do that coaching wise. Does that coaching pedigree come from your dad?
My dad coached. He was a two-sport guy at Michigan State. Okay, he went on after World War II. He went to Michigan State on the GI Bill, and he was a boxer and wrestler. That's why I never messed around at home. All right,
I don't blame you.
Because he had boxing gloves, and he would teach us how to box. You know, down in the basement. But he would really kick our butt just to remind us who's boss.
Any headgear or no? Was it just straight up gloves? That's it.
No, we did have headgear, but we didn't wear it often enough. Maybe that explains a lot of things. But then he coached wrestling, and he actually began wrestling in the UP. He started wrestling at Northern, and he started wrestling in the UP. All the wrestling programs are because my dad implemented it at Kingsford. They still have the Ray Mariucci Invitational at
That's
Kingsford
right.
to this day. Okay, so he was very instrumental. That's why he's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He wrestled in college, and then he implemented the wrestling program up there. It's very competitive, and I wrestled too before I had to make a decision. You start wrestling when you're a little kid,
right?
And so we all did that. But then in high school, I had to make a decision: basketball or wrestling. After football season, and so I chose basketball because Izzo was my buddy, right? So we played together.
You coached Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, you know, when you were at the Niners, Steve Young. But even before that, I think one of your biggest jumps, and I think claim to fame for anyone who's in Wisconsin or the UP, because most people in UP, they're Packer fans.
Yeah.
They're not Lions fans.
No.
They're not driving 9 hours to Ford Field. You know, they're going to Lambeau. You got to coach Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I recently got to speak with Andy Reid. We were on tour with Jimmy. We had a day off in Kansas City, and we got a tour of Arrowhead and then the offices. I was with my two fellow production buddies, the Margarillas, Lars and Jared, and we went down to the offices, and someone said, hey, someone wants to say hi to you guys. And they bring us up to Andy Reid's office.
Oh, good.
And he goes, he just wanted to talk to us, and we're nobody. We're not Jimmy. And he's one of the nicest guys we've ever met. And he starts talking to us, and I mention your name. I go, you know, I'm from the UP. Of course, you probably know Coach Mariucci. He's like, yeah. He goes, we shared an office.
Yeah, we did.
You guys did?
Well, so when we first got hired by Mike Holmgren, I had the quarterbacks, he had the tight ends. We shared an office because we were like, well, a lot of us were young. John Gruden was young. We just got shoved into any room that was available. But Andy Reid, I would bring the coaches up to Pine Mountain in Iron Mountain, watch a ski tournament, right, which they just had last week. But he would take his kids, because he had 5 kids, I had 4, and would take them skiing at Pine Mountain. Andy Reid blew his knee out. He was skiing, blew his knee out in Pine Mountain. In fact, he just had to get it redone last year because it's such a mess. But yeah, he's the best. I was in that same office to interview him once. He had all this ribs and barbecue stuff for me and a big cake. It was my birthday, but he's doing such a great job. I admire him tremendously. Let me tell you a story about the first time I talked to Brett Favre. And because you gotta start someplace, right? First impression. So Brett gets signed by the Packers because we traded for him, okay? Ron Wolf traded a number 1 pick. He was in Atlanta. He redshirted in Atlanta, played 5 snaps, okay? And so Ron traded for him, gave him a first-round pick, and I went, oh, my God, this guy better be something. That's expensive for a guy who sat the bench. And so we knew he's a crazy guy, tough guy, and funny guy, all that, sort of. So I'm home because I had gone from Green Bay back to California where I was moving from, and just getting ready, packed up, and that kind of thing. I get a phone call. Is Coach Mariucci? Yeah, is he there? Yes, this is he. Who's this? Brett who? Because it caught me by surprise, right? Brett Favre. Oh, hi, Brett. How you doing? Congratulations. Welcome aboard. That kind of, small talk stuff, right? And I go, what's up? He goes, well, anytime he started a sentence with, well, I knew something good was going to come, all right? So he said, well, I only get 1 phone call, and so I thought I'd call you. I went, what? He says, I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? Where are you? He goes, well, I'm in Hattiesburg, and I'm in jail. I'm in jail. I go, you're in jail, and you're calling me? And he says, well, I only get 1 phone call. I said, you're calling me from jail? I said, why don't you call Mike Holmgren? He's the head coach. No, he'd kill me. I said, why don't you call Ron Wolf? No way, he'd really kill me. So I said, you're just calling me, huh? What am I going to do? What do you want me to do? I said, first of all, you better tell me what happened. And he says, okay, well, my brothers and sisters and some friends were out playing pool at a bar, and somebody shoved my sister or bumped into her, and my brother said something, and then somebody said something, and pretty soon there's all kinds of people yelling at each other, and the police came and took us all in here. So it was pretty harmless, right? But they were all in the slammer for a few hours. But the point of the story is, he said to me, do me a favor. Just don't tell Ron and Mike Holmgren, okay? I said, okay, I won't tell them, but you better never get in trouble again because I can't deal with this, all right? He goes, fine, okay, promise. So to this day, I've never told. Now, they're going to be listening to this, I'm sure, and they're going to hear this and go, Mooch, why didn't you tell us that? But that's where I gained the trust of Brett Favre because he knew I had his back. He knew I never would. I shouldn't say never, but when he did something like that needed to be discussed, I'd defend him or keep things a secret if need be or whatever. It was harmless, right? But I think in his mind he realized that I had his back.
Well, and you seem like I would go to you. Like you seem like the kind of guy I could go to if I had a problem or needed some help. But that obviously created the bond between you two. I think immediately.
It did. He knew that if he screwed up 1 inch, that I have this over him. It's like, all right, I can tell these people, and they can know that you're whatever. But it was funny stuff, boy. He was never a dull moment around that guy. He was crazy.
I
love him.
I can imagine. Like, you never knew what he was going to do. Like, I've never seen so many left-handed shovel passes on the run. Like, was he the rich man's Doug Flutie? Like, how would you describe? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the play was never over with him.
Forget about teaching anybody like perfect technique and clinic tape, because he was a guy that he would improvise like every other play, right? You never knew what he was going to do from play to play. He was exciting as heck, and the fans knew it. He might throw an interception, but it's because the last 7 throws have been miracle throws that he gets it in there somehow, some way that nobody else can get it in there. And so he was just exciting to watch. He played. Can you believe he played 20 years? I mean, he's the toughest human being I've ever seen. I mean, he took a beating. It's not that he never got hurt. He was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Pro football players get hurt.
Yeah.
And he would just tough it out. Never missed practices. He missed one game one practice, weeks of practice, because his ankle was like a balloon. And then he ended up coming back and playing against the Chicago Bears and threw 5 touchdown passes and beat the Bears in Lambeau. But he didn't take off. He'd come out and he'd throw with a walking boot on. But he never missed meetings. He never missed Tuesdays, the players' day off. I mean, they're supposed to be off, right?
Right.
No, he would come in and meet with me in the morning and go get some treatment and get some weights and then go hunting or whatever he did in the afternoon.
What did you guys see in him? Obviously you didn't make the trade, but like when you were, of course, hey, this is a red-shirted guy. What am I going to do? Did you see anything on film right away where you're like, hey, we can do something here?
The year before, I was coaching at Cal, so
right.
I was in college, so I didn't evaluate Brett Favre for the draft. I was in college. So when I went to the Packers, Ron Wolf said to me, he said, Mooch, I want you to evaluate Brett Favre. He's a backup quarterback for the Falcons. Here's some Southern Miss tape, and take a look at what he did at Atlanta. He only threw 5 passes in Atlanta in mop-up. 2 of them were interceptions. Okay. And so I come back. There wasn't a lot of film to watch other than watching him beat Alabama when he was at Southern Miss. So my report back to Ron Wolf was, okay, well, strong arm, certainly a strong cannon arm. Tough guy, throws it into coverage sometimes, plays with emotion. He's a winner because in college he won a lot of games, and kind of a wild stallion kind of guy, but tough and strong arm. And he said, okay, thanks. And the next thing I knew, we traded a number 1 pick for him, which scared the heck out of me. Because I just didn't know him well enough, until a phone call from jail.
So your jump to the NFL, like, how did you go from coaching then to TV? Like, I'm always interested in that. Did the NFL Network, like, hey, we're going to send you to TV school? Like, how do you make that jump as someone who's normally not in front of the camera for that kind of a thing?
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, when you're coaching, when you're a head coach, and I had been a head coach for 9 years, you are in front of the camera quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of press conferences, and you have a lot of interviews, and you have a lot of, maybe you have an endorsement, maybe you have something to say, maybe you do speeches, maybe you do presentations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of on your feet with a microphone. Now, it's a little different because when you're a coach and you answer questions, you show up and you answer questions from what you remember, and when you're doing an interview, you're asking the questions. You have to have different kind of preparation.
Yeah.
But I think coaches and athletes have a chance to advance a TV career because they've had the camera and the microphone in front of them so often. No, we don't go to broadcast school like Rich Eisen did, and a lot of these other guys that are hosts. They're very good at what they do. But our experience was gained, after the game in the arena and the press conferences, that kind of thing with a camera and microphone. You get some experience that way.
You're very animated. You're fun to watch on TV. It's as if you went to broadcast school.
I'm Italian. I can't. If you tie my hands behind my back, I can't talk.
I didn't think about that.
Can't talk?
No. What are you going to do?
So that's just there.
What's your favorite thing about the job right now?
It's football. I love that because remember that Saturday Night Live skit? Football been very, very good to me. And let me tell you something. I almost didn't have this. Hank, because when I went to Northern Michigan with Izzo, we lived together for 7 years at Northern because that's how long it took him to graduate, I think. But but I was in the football, training camp as a freshman. I hated it. I was like 7th string. I didn't know anybody. I was far away from home, 78 miles. I had a girlfriend that I missed. I was like homesick. I missed my mom's cooking. And I thought, okay, this is not for me. I'm going to be a teacher and a coach, and that's it. That's what I wanted to come to school for. My dad did that, and he's my hero, and that's what I'm going to do. So I wanted to quit. And And this is like 3 weeks in, and my dad said, "Okay, I'm coming up there. Don't move." Well, I was so I had my mind made up. I'm out of here. My bags were packed. Grease Hall at Northern. I had my bags packed. I was on the curb waiting for my dad to pull up, to pick me up, to take me home to Iron Mountain, okay?
About an hour and a half away.
Yeah. And here he comes. And I look at him, and he goes, "Grab your bags, and let's go back up in your room, and we're going to talk." Oh, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to go home, right? So we went up there, and what he did was he talked me into staying one more day. And he talked me into going over to talk to the coaches and find out, what their thoughts are, because I didn't see me playing. And so we went and talked to the coaches, and they said, "You're doing fine. Just keep with it. Just doing fine." And anyway, and school's starting in another, 5 days. Wait till the campus, the students get here, and it changes the whole culture here on campus rather than just training camp. And so I did, and then one day led to the next day, and I stayed. And the moral of that story is, sometimes our parents, and I realize this now, I didn't realize it then, but sometimes our parents know us better than we know ourselves. So my dad knew. My mom didn't come up because she wanted my dad to handle it, but she knew too that I loved football, and I loved sport, and I loved competing, because I did everything else too in growing up in the UP. You ski, you wrestle, you play baseball, you do basketball, everything. And so they knew that this was just a homesickness kind of thing, temporary, and you got to fight through it somehow. So he essentially made the decision for me. You're staying another day. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I often think of, what the heck, if he would have been weak, if my dad would have been, "Okay, all right, son, you can come home. You don't have to go to college. You can just see your girlfriend." I don't know. I don't know what the heck I would have been doing right now. I don't know. And I sure know it wouldn't be this. It wouldn't have been a head coach in the National Football League or working for the NFL as an analyst. I know that. And so thank God that he was tougher than I was at that time. And like I said, sometimes our parents know us better than we know ourselves.
That's true. What's the toughest part of your job right now?
If you keep pressing me on what's the toughest part, I suppose the travel. When we're doing Thursday night games,
yeah.
and then so you leave on Wednesday and Thursday, and you fly back on Friday, and then I got to fly back down Saturday and Sunday to the office to LA. So I'm not home. I may be sleeping in hotels 4 or 5 days a week, where as a coach you don't do that. You're in your own bed every night except a trip. So that's it's not difficult. It's just pain in the butt.
What time does your day start on show day, like Thursday Night Football? Like, when are you going to be at the stadium? When do you go to makeup? Like, how busy is that kind of a day for a production?
We'll have a production meeting in the hotel at 9 o'clock in the morning and go over the script, go over the rundown, for the pregame show. We know what to do for the post-game show. It's the same all the time. It's a little bit of highlights. We have a guest on, so there's not a script for that. It's just like show up and do it. The halftime show is highlights and a quick comment, But a 3-hour pregame show it requires preparation. So we might have we do have a production meeting, but you spend a couple 3 days before that watching film of these teams, learning who's injured and statistics and the storylines and some of those things. You got to prep for those things. But 9 o'clock meeting, we'll meet for an hour or so, eat breakfast, and then we'll get over to the stadium way too early for makeup. We wear makeup, and
not that you need it, by the way. I got to say, you're looking great these days.
Yeah, and so that's that day. Now the Sundays, the game day morning shows. For 4-hour pregame show, that's a grinder now. It's fun. It's crazy show because we're different than everybody else. We mess around so much. Sometimes I can't believe they pay us to do this. But we have a 2-hour production meeting on Saturday, the day before. We go over every minute of the show. from who's breaking, who's sending what to here, go to the stadium, here's the chat, this is the video, this is the XO. I mean, there's a lot of content to it. So it's a lot of preparation. I think that's what people don't quite understand, nor did I, how much preparation goes into doing a show, especially a pregame show where everything's hypothetical and everything's, subject to controversy or opinion or, and that kind of thing. So I love it. But then you know what happens? You go in the off season. There's an off season. After the Super Bowl, we go to the combine, spend a few days at the combine, getting to learn who these new kids are.
Yep.
Then I'll film what we call a game changer show. I'll get some of these draft prospects out in San Diego, and we do a show with them for 3 days. And then it's the draft. And then after the draft, I'm off for 3 months. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm off for 3 months. I love it. I love it. So you have family time. That's the difference with coaching. You're never off for 3 months in coaching. You're never off for 3 minutes.
And going to that production thing is the same thing with our concerts. Working a Jimmy Buffett tour. Mm-hmm. When you go to a concert, like you pay for your ticket, you go to will call, you get out there, you see an opening act maybe, or no opening act, and then you see the show, and then you go home.
Yep.
But you don't realize, the trucks, how long it takes to build, and it's the same thing. Video cameras, all that stuff. There's steps in the process of creating that show, that the end result that people get to watch.
I know what you're right, because I was shocked to learn. When we did a Thursday night game, there might be 4 or 5 talking heads, right? That people see on television, but there's 150 people eating lunch that day because of the producers and the cameramen and everybody behind the scenes in the trucks. And it's amazing, the production, what goes into it. And then you just see 4 of us talking or 5 of us talking about, oh yeah, Tom Brady's pretty good.
Right,
there's so much to it though behind the scenes.
Well, and that's when I first met you. It might have been about 12 years ago. We were doing a show in an arena, I think in San Jose. And I got word from the promoter. They're like, yeah, we got actually Steve Mariucci's up at the show. I go, hey, he's from the UP. I got to say hi. I know, not wanting to bother you, but I go, come on, we're practically blood brothers here. Yoopers got to say hi to Yoopers. So the promoter brought me up to the level where you were. We knocked on the door. They opened it. Hey, Steve Mariucci in here. And I think the promoter said something to someone about, yeah, we got someone here from the UP. You stood up, turn around, and you go, a Yooper, hey, come on in here. You gave me a big hug, and we started chatting a little bit where I was from in Crystal Falls, you being from Iron Mountain. And that's the first time it was at a Buffett show.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've emails, calls here and there, just shooting the proverbial shit, as we say.
Was that the Shark Tank? Yeah.
It was the Shark Tank, where the Sharks played. That's right. Yeah. Which brings me to my question here. You get those 3 months off. Is that your Margaritaville time?
It is Margaritaville time. Here's another thing that I'm doing, okay? I formed a Mariucci Family Foundation. I've always done charitable stuff all the way through, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna just make a foundation, a 501c3, and determine where the money goes with all the hard work. Izzo and I built that building in Iron Mountain High School. We did an academic center at Northern Michigan University. There's just a large part of me that wants to give back to places where I came from, and a lot of people do that, okay? But I wanted to have a family foundation where my kids get to learn a little bit about philanthropy, all right? They're all on the board. I don't have anybody else on the board. The friends I know and in all the high places, I don't want them on the board because I want my kids to be the board members, to make decisions, to learn how to support a cause, to learn how to decide where money goes, which causes are most important to us or you. And so we did that. So the 3 months that I have off, not entirely, but much of it is spent in doing events to raise money for our foundation. Like John Madden and I have been doing a bocce ball. You need to come to that.
I want to. I love bocce ball.
And, oh, my God, I'll kick your butt. And so 19 years
it's on.
We've been doing this. We've raised over $6 million, okay? That's just one of them. I have 6 of them. And I'm raising money for the Beacon House. We're building a new Beacon House in Marquette, right? Because they're building a new hospital.
Wow.
So my foundation is help underwriting that. And we have a big giant golf tournament, June 2021. You should go. Different things for Iron Mountain High School. And so, my family, we have football camps for Down syndrome kids. All right. And that's spreading in different cities around the country. It's fabulous. I love it. So a lot of my 3 months off is putting those things together. That stuff happens early. Under Armour is a big supporter of ours, but does apparel for all these kids with Down syndrome. It is fabulous. I love it. It just brings tears to my eyes when you watch these kids have their couple days of football camp and a big game and get their names announced when they come out of the tunnel, and it's fantastic. So that's what my off season kind of consists of. And then I want to take a family vacation if I can. It's hard to get the kids all together now because they're all getting older and spread out and working and everything. But this year we're going to go to Canada because my wife is from Canada, Calgary. So I'm taking the gang up there just to see where the heck she was born.
That's further north than the UP.
I know it. That's like, isn't that kind of, is that coincidental that a yooper married a Canadian? What? It's like,
it's textbook.
That's weird.
It's textbook. So you're from the South, so she must think you really got a Southern accent compared to what she's got, right?
Yeah, she was born in Calgary. She lived there for 10 years or something. Then came down to San Jose area with her family. So I actually met her when I was coaching at Cal State Fullerton. I was a coach. She was a student. Don't tell anybody.
Secret safe here on these microphones, sir.
I was 24 years old, kid from Northern, just got a job out there, and she was a 22-year-old older student finishing up, right? And I met her, and I went, I don't know if I'm supposed to date a student, but the head coach, Gene Murphy, goes, no, she's cute, go for it.
Okay, coach.
And 4 kids later and 35 years of marriage, I guess it was okay.
Do you ever make it to the beach? Are you a beach guy? Do you get to okay? Because listen, you're doing a lot of
when I'm on the beach,
work.
I surfed once in my life, okay, and I realized that it was way too much work for like 3 seconds of enjoyment. Okay, it was like, I'm not doing this again. But I'll drink a margarita right on the beach. All right, we have a beach home in Del Mar.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you got to come down there. In fact, I'm going there next week.
What's your favorite margarita? What's your favorite kind of margarita?
Oh, with Jimmy stuff, all the different flavors you have, huh?
Well, what's that? When you were at the Lions, didn't I send some mango tequila one time?
Mango was good.
Not during the season, folks. It's okay.
Not before a game.
No.
That stuff didn't last long. That was good.
Was it a party with the players?
Oh yes, that's right. I would have players over to my house in the training camp, kind of a break from training camp, a night out at Mooch's house, and with the wives and the players and wives if they were there. And just had a little social, and that made it out. Yep.
I know.
That's right. That's right.
I love doing the underground work to get that party started. That's what Margaritaville's all about.
Yeah.
What Margaritaville? What is it to you? What does Margaritaville mean to you?
It's a place. It's a place where you don't worry about nothing. It's a place where you can relax and enjoy the time, the people you're with, watch a sunset, listen to the waves crashing. See, when you're in Margaritaville, that does not count as a day against your life. Okay, it's like a relaxed day. It's like doesn't count. There's no stress. It doesn't add to your age. In fact, it probably improves your age a little bit, right? So that's what that means. We need a few more of those.
I try to have those at least a few times a month, but working for my boss, it tends to be a part of the program, which is nice.
You get a time off?
We get windows, but knowing how busy Jimmy is and how whether he's traveling or working on new ideas, the mind's always going, I try not to slack. But we do get these windows of opportunity to have some fun, let alone on the job. His whole philosophy is work hard, play hard. Yeah. So we get these moments on the road where you got a day off with the roadies, and we'll have a party on the bus. We'll take one of the buses to the beach. It comes with the program.
I saw Jimmy not only at the few concerts that I've been at, but but at the Bohemian Grove. Does he ever talk about that?
Oh, he doesn't tell me what goes on there, but I know he's seen you there.
Yes. And
that's a hell of a guest list, by the way.
You can't believe it. I'm talking presidents of the United States. I mean,
how does a guy from Iron Mountain and Jimmy Buffett get inside this?
Jimmy
group?
belongs. I'm like a freeloader. No, I'm just it's the most amazing place.
Are we allowed to talk about this?
On God's earth? We can just skim the surface.
We'll skim the surface.
Yeah, it's fabulous. But he entertains there, and everybody loves him. I mean, just loves him. Everybody's a parrot head.
He's approachable like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who doesn't like Steve Mariucci?
Sometimes my wife gets pissed off at me.
Well, you're not moving anytime soon, so you should be good for a window here, right?
I'm not moving that I know of. Yeah.
Cheeseburger in paradise. It's very important in Margaritaville. You're making a cheeseburger. How does Mooch make the perfect cheeseburger when he's in Margaritaville?
Yeah, I love gluten. Okay, so the buns have to be kind of small. I like double meat too, and I like double or triple cheese. That's how my cheeseburger is.
What kind of cheese?
Because I love cheese. Because I'm like, when you're from the UP, you're right next to Wisconsin. That's the cheese capital of the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I put cheese on everything. I put cheese on this coffee that I had this morning.
Wisconsin cheddar?
Yeah, and I love Swiss too. I just like it with provolone. Anyway, all of it. And so, but the cheeseburger's got to be big and juicy and dripping right down your hands when you're eating the thing, right?
Medium rare?
I'm a medium guy. I like it a little pink.
You put any vegetables on that or no?
You know what? Sometimes some lettuce, and sometimes a tomato, little ketchup and mustard. Got to put some salt and pepper on it. I don't know. I put salt and pepper on everything. That gets my wife mad. And then if there's fries or whatever, that's a sidekick. You got to have the big juicy hamburger cheeseburger that's just dripping all over the place.
And if you're building your own margarita, how do you construct your own margarita? What's a Mooch margarita look like?
I gotta have salt, right? I do them blended or I do them on the rocks. Doesn't matter. Either way, they're good for me.
I'm the same way. Not too picky about that. I'd probably go more rocks, just because I like something. I don't know.
I do more rocks now.
I feel like there's less sugar because I don't know what's in the frozen sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't mind gluten, but we gotta watch our torso these days, right? We're getting up there, right?
Yeah, but youpers like gluten.
We do. It's like 99% gluten when you make a pasty pie, right? So
I just had some of those. I went to the ski jumps in Iron Mountain, and you got to have a pasty because it's just good for the soul.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. It keeps you grounded in more ways than one. You got one good spring break story?
Spring break?
You and Izzo, did you guys ever road trip out of the UP to like somewhere where it was warm?
Yeah. So in the summer, it wasn't spring; it was summer when school got out. We said, you know what, let's go see the world because we're youpers and we haven't seen anything outside of Ishpeming. And so he had a truck, and then his dad put a capot on the back of this pickup truck. We filled it with like some food, sleeping bags, and some extra clothes, and we took off in the summer, and we went around this country. We took a major college road trip, man.
Wow.
And we went from Iron Mountain. So we were poor students, right? So you got to just the main expense was gas, because we tried to meet friends or family and stay at their house if that was possible when we drove downstate, and then we drove down through Kentucky, and then we went down south, and we went down around and then through Texas and Arizona, and we tried to stop at things like the Hoover Dam and Yellowstone Park and the Grand Canyon and you name it. And we went to up California coast, and it took us over 3 weeks to do all of this, okay? And it was just gas. We'd stop off at like those all-you-can-eat salad bars at Burger King, and I would buy it, and then we would just keep going back with one plate, and fill our face. It was a blast. It was like an absolute road trip. And we went through we went to Mexico, and
you crossed the border.
Yeah, we crossed the border, but that was easy. But coming back, they They took everything out of our car, out of our truck, everything. They went through every cracker box looking for drugs or something. I don't know. It took us like 3 hours to put the stuff back together and get on our way. But we had a blast. So that was a road trip. That was Margaritaville, wasn't it?
That is definitely a Jimmy Buffett, Jack Kerouac story.
Yep.
If you can go to any beach, any island in the world, where would it be?
That's a tough one. I have a place in Del Mar, Southern California, and I love Del Mar, and we have a fantastic beach, okay? So we get spoiled. Like if we were to go to Hawaii, which are fabulous beaches, but I tend to say, you know what? I can stay home and have the same sunset. I can have the same margaritas. I can have the same food there. You know what I mean? I don't need to go anywhere else because I have a place on the beach in Del Mar. But you know what? Why? Where's yours?
Oh, man. I want to go to Tahiti. I've never been to Tahiti. I want to go.
Stay in those huts over the water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak a little French.
Yeah.
Have a little rum, But I will say one of my favorite beaches, there's two. There's one in Maui, one in St. Bart's I've been to.
St. Bart's.
Yeah.
Not been there.
Whew.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Should I put it on my bucket list?
You got to go.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, you got to go there. Coach, thanks for meeting with me today.
Thanks, Hank.
I'll see you on a bocce ball court in Margaritaville.
Let's do it.
Fins up.
All right.